Today I don't feel like doing anything. I just wanna lay in my bed.
We're easing through Friday.
Don't feel like picking up my phone, so leave a message at the
Hope you're having a nice
tone,
little
'cause
lazy
today I swear
afternoon.
I'm not doing anything.
It does seem, though, that in our busy lives, fatigue's becoming almost a normal characteristic, isn't it? We've got longer work hours, we've got excess body fat, we've got bad diets, we've got the toxicity of our environment all thrown in there. Add in raising children, we're probably all exhausted, but let's seek the help of nutritionist Sarah Di Lorenzo, who joins us again. Nice to have you back with us, Sarah.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
All right, well, you sound chirpy and not the least bit fatigued, yet you're running around after 3 kids of your own. How do we define fatigue, I guess, even down to a cellular level?
Well, fatigue, there's so many... Look, fatigue, it's really about the signs and symptoms when you're looking at it. So it's just things like being tired, blurred vision, reduced immune function, little things like you just can't. I mean, Ed, imagine just not being able to get out of bed in the morning. You're just laying there and you just really can't get out. The other thing is being irritability and brain fog and low motivation is really what you look at when you're trying to define fatigue.
Yeah, certainly in the morning you should wake refreshed, which indicates something's not going well. You're not recharging essentially overnight. So that's the first little red flag. Then we have chronic fatigue as well, don't we, which is even next level.
It is next level, but we define fatigue as simple or chronic, and chronic fatigue is fatigue that's been going on for longer than 6 months. That's the definition for it, and there is a lot of reasons for it, but a lot of the chronic fatigue comes with stress to the adrenal glands, yes, and the adrenal glands not working properly.
Are you seeing this a lot in your clients, Sarah? Is it pretty common?
It is so common, but Ed, you know what? I'm the last person, when people are at their wits' end, and they've gone to the doctors, they've had tests done and blood work done or whatever, and they just, for various reasons, they just can't understand why they just don't have that vitality. They end up seeing me, and I do see it a lot. And I mean, lately I've had people with HSC students studying, and the fatigue was, associated with that, the shift workers and of course the single mums like myself, although I don't have fatigue, but yeah.
We'll put that down as one of the causes of it, though. That seems to be fairly forgivable too. Anything else contributing to adrenal failure in the end, which causes this rundown state we all seem to be feeling?
Look, there's so many things that can cause fatigue, but it's just things like nutritional deficiencies. So we look for inflammation. I look for hormonal imbalances. The other big thing is excess body weight. When I have people, I run a lot of weight loss programs, and I can honestly say as soon as my patients start losing, they come in fatigued. And when they're carrying that extra weight, within losing the first 4 to 5 kilos, I can honestly say people will gallop into my clinic and they will just say, I've got more energy. But the other things I look for is, toxicity. Of course, dehydration is a really common and overlooked cause for fatigue.
Okay.
Yeah,
now, down on a cellular level, we have our little mitochondria, our little gears, all churning and working and fueling our cells. And I guess if you look, under a microscope, even they're struggling and contributing to fatigue in some cases, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I'm highly passionate. I've got a big crush on the mitochondria. I love mitochondria.
Cute little things, yeah.
They are cute. I'm really highly passionate about it. And, mitochondria, is I talk to my patients a lot about what mitochondria are, and they're actually little organelles in each cell, and they work like a digestive system. But I explain it very easily to my patients, and I say that we can either look at them like little mini batteries in cells, or we can look at them as a traffic light. And you can imagine that when mitochondria get damaged when you overeat and you don't exercise, and the damaged mitochondria means fatigue. So I always say to people, you imagine you've eaten a lot of food, there's all this glucose in your blood, and insulin's there to give glucose a lift down to the cell, and there's this little mitochondria in there, and the glucose is sitting there ready to be utilised and digested, which is part of the cellular respiration. And when there's all this, too much glucose going on, the mitochondria get overwhelmed, and instead of having like a green light for the glucose to come into the cell, to go, mitochondria, they're like an amber flashing traffic light.
Yeah, right.
And they just stop working and they become damaged, and people will end up with fatigue. So the solution is don't overeat and do exercise. And love your mitochondria.
Yeah. We need a little picture on our phones, don't we, just to be true to them. Okay, so how do we reboot them as well? Is there some, as a nutritionist, something you recommend as well that might sort of give them a little kick along?
Well, the big thing about mitochondria is exercise, because that's how they regenerate. But also, look, with my fatigue programs, I do look at I do supplement, and I definitely think that I do have a core supplement range that I do, or a little protocol that I use for people, and it's just things like the coenzyme Q10. I look at definitely magnesium, B vitamins, and fish oil. But if people are like pregnant, I don't supplement a lot when people are pregnant, so we look at foods rich in that. But just basically, it's eating the right kind of food. It's avoiding toxicity. Diet is a big factor. Reduction of caffeine, alcohol, saturated fats, refined foods. And the big thing I'm going to say about fatigue is being gluten-free. And I know people go, oh, gluten-free, whatever. But you know what? Gluten is essential. A gluten-free diet is essential because gluten is known to trigger intestinal inflammation, and then it increases intestinal permeability, and that causes fatigue, and it goes on from there. So diet for fatigue is all about gluten-free and ketogenic.
Okay.
And, of course, hydration.
Yeah, okay. Interesting stuff. Now, if you're suffering like this and you are a bit run down, how long can it take? How long could we expect it to take to overcome?
Okay, so everyone's unique, of course, but my program generally runs for about 12 weeks. And I have to say, I tell patients to really put 12 weeks aside, and the program has to be at the forefront of their life, like a job, because they have to keep a food diary, a fatigue diary, and an energy diary. But in that 12-week program, I can honestly say I see results after 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks. And I've had one lady recently who came in who was who had been struggling for 7 years with fatigue after being widowed, and she'd been to every doctor, and she actually, she left. I said to her, I can release you now. I can let you out into the world at 6 weeks.
Gather up your mitochondria and go forth. Love it.
Yeah, so everyone's unique with that, but I think anywhere from around 3 months generally is the guideline for a fatigue program.
Great. If people would like to find out more, Sarah Di Lorenzo, it's the sdlmethod.com is your website, and we can go from there.
Perfect. Fantastic.
Well, you go bouncing into the weekend. I'm sure you will. Look after your little engines in your cells, the mighty mitochondria. Lovely to chat to you again, Sarah. Good on you, hun.